a comment in the chat. I wanted to just run by everyone. He said we need a true closer. Most World Series champs have one. Most great teams have that true defined closer. Now, I might be in the minority here, but I think they have one. I just don't think they've named him yet, and they're not going to give him every opportunity early in the season. I think Rob Thomson does believe in the high leverage situation. So if in the 8th inning, a lefty heavy lineup is coming up, he's going to use Jose Alvarado there. But I do believe for the most part, they have a closer. They just haven't said it yet.
I think that's right. I mean, you did see, Soto close it out the other day because Alvarado faced the tougher part of the lineup.
Hoffman pitched 3 or 4 days.
And I think, maybe even 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Hoffman had been heavily used.
Yeah.
So you had Soto coming on, which didn't feel fantastic given his recent struggles. So you do think Alvarado is probably the guy. Now, they used to have that Alvarado-Sir Anthony combo, lefty-righty combo. Now you've probably got the Alvarado-Hoffman combo. That's fantastic. But I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility that, again, we talked about it earlier, if you take a look at the trade deadline and the Phillies are all performing the way they're performing sort of right now, and you want to add to the bullpen, I mean, we had talked about it over the offseason some. If you get a truly shutdown closer for the 9th, and now you're mixing and matching Alvarado and Hoffman and the rest of the gang in like the 8th, that would be absolutely filthy. Now,
I feel like that is an area that should be locked down, in my opinion, for who's going to be a closer, because you do have Jeff Hoffman, Jose Alvarado, and Orion Kirkering. I know Steven in the chat's bringing up Kirkering. Between the 3 of them, I would imagine that Rob feels comfortable with any one of them coming in as closer. I just feel like, in my opinion, what it seems like lately is the bullpen rotation's been a little bit off. And we've seen, like last game, for instance, because Jeff Hoffman couldn't go, and you had Orion, Strom, everybody pitched Jose, they pitched 1 inning, and then you're kind of left going into the bottom of the 9th wondering who's going to come out and close out the game. So I think the issue is less about who is the closer and more about can we get to a point where you're not using maybe Orion so early. Maybe it is Strom that comes in or Gregory Soto. Maybe not Sir Anthony for a little while. But I think it's just been a misuse of the bullpen, not an issue of not having a closer, because Jeff Hoffman has talked extensively about how he, this offseason especially, took time to lock into the mindset of being able to, carry over the performance last year into this year, be able to deliver, be able to be the guy that Phillies can count on, be steady, and just be in the moment. And that's, to me, the mental side of how he can help as a closer. Jose's been that. And Orion just been young, but Orion already in his start to the season has been fantastic in 2024 since coming back off the IO. I mean, you look at the fact that he's been able to get out there, have a .75 whip. He's throwing gas. His pitches look fantastic. He's always got one of the highest velocities in the game. I think those are your 3 guys. It's just you have to better manage how you're rotating them against specific batters, when you're using them, how you're using them, so you're not putting them out there too early and then in the 9th inning going to a Gregory Soto.
I think that's a really excellent point. I do want to add, though, that I don't know if that mismanagement is on Thomson. I
don't know who's doing
it's
that.
Just sort of, well, to me, it's a little bit about circumstances. Like they have the string of games where they don't need any relievers pitching. And then all of a sudden, folks seem a little rusty, and then they need work.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get their work, and then we got Hoffman in a game because he hasn't pitched in 5 days.
Right.
And now all of a sudden you need him 4 days out of 5. And part of it's just the way it falls like that. And that's why, to me, it seems like it never hurts to have one more guy. But maybe I'm just greedy.
No, you'll see it at the trade deadline. Every playoff team is going to attempt to add a bullpen arm, regardless of how their situation is.
Yeah.
They could be the best bullpen in the league. You're usually looking to add somebody because, the reality is bullpens are, a major factor, like a major factor in winning World Series. We saw it here in 2008 firsthand. If it's not for Scott Air and some of these guys and J.C. Romero and like the lower level guys, Ryan Madsen was spectacular. Lidge was spectacular. But if you didn't have some of those other guys, and Chad Durbin was phenomenal that year. So can you count on Sir Anthony right now? No. Can you count on Orion, Hoffman, and Alvarado? Yes. Some of the other guys have shown promise.
You trust those three. You trust Strom.
Yeah, Strom's been very
and
good.
You should.
Don't give him inherited runners. Just give him clean innings.
Yeah.
He stinks with inherited runners.
Yeah.
But other than that, he's been great.
Right.
Yeah.
And, it really should be, you look at the names and you look at the track record of these pitchers, and it really seems like they should be at a point where you can use guys like Sir Anthony if he's pitching the way the way he could. That's a fantastic guy to be able to bring in the 5th or 6th inning.
Junior Marte's been okay.
I was going to say,
Junior
Marte,
Marte,
we
shouldn't forget about him. And Soto closed out a game the other day. This is a guy with a ton of closing experience, former All-Star closer with the Tigers. They're pretty good, but
they'll probably still add someone.
I just think that it needs to be more defined of who's your typical middle relievers. Is it a Junior Marte, Strom? And then who's going to be the guys that you're putting in later down the stretch? Because I do feel like we've just seen too many times pulling somebody off the mound too soon. Again, like Orion's a great example. Like he probably could have given you a little bit more than an inning. Stretch him maybe an inning and 2/3. Maybe you're now working him in that next inning, and then you bring in Strom. I just feel like it's been too quick or short of a leash with some of them, and now you're forced to have to go to Sir Anthony, Gregory Soto in high leverage situations. And I'd love to see the management of it be better. Definitely still add a bullpen arm, but the talent is there. I think it was exactly as you touched on, John. You went from Ranger throwing a complete game, Aaron, Ranger, Zach going 7-8 innings. Obviously Ranger with a complete game going the full distance. And the bullpen was not getting worked. And then and then as a result, they just were kind of throwing them out there sporadically just to get them some innings, just to keep them fresh. And then you mismanaged them. You had Jeff Hoffman in a situation specifically where you couldn't even utilize him in the last game. And then overall, you're now scrambling of who do I go to? So hopefully with solidifying whatever the starting pitching is going to look like, if it's going to be a piggyback situation, whatever that's going to look like, hopefully that will also solidify what the bullpen's going to look like. Because right now it just kind of feels like helter-skelter. You don't really know who's next. Even we were like, who are they going to now?
Exactly.
Who's coming out of the bullpen next? You have no idea.
It's like, are you drawing names out of a hat?
Right.
There is something to be said for, and I know there's sort of an old school, new school divide on this, but to me, there's still something to be said for defined roles.
Sure. Yeah, and I think they're missing that.
This guy's coming out in the ninth.
That's what Jason's saying right there in the chat with you. He said, I think a guy like Sir Anthony needs a defined role, meaning if you're the closer or the setup, I don't want him in either of those roles, but he can be the 7th inning guy potentially if he figures it out. So he knows how to get prepared for his time on the mound instead of just leverage spots. There is something to be said for that. John, we're of the age that kind of straddles that line of old school, new school, like right on the cusp.
Right.
I think there is something to say for that. A friend of mine, Ricky Batalico, always says that. Ricky's probably a little more old school baseball thinking than new school, but he's a guy that's done it.
He's a guy that's done it. He's a guy that knows, and he knows like there's something different about the 9th inning.
Yeah,
right?
he said, I knew I was going in the 9th inning, and I could prepare myself all game long to get in the right headspace and go out there and do it. So I can't discredit it as the new school is right.
Right, but
most athletes are like that. Most athletes want to know, how am I making an impact on the team? When am I being called upon? I know Ray's bringing up the same thing, talking about on the offensive side, like someone like Whit Merrifield, for instance. I know we all have talked on this show about wanting to see Rob tinkering a little bit more, trying out some versatility, mixing and matching some combinations. But I do think there's got to be that fine balance. It is still May, early May. So this will hopefully happen as the season's progressing. But continue to, and I'm assuming I know he's having these conversations, but continue like also moving into having some sort of a role that we know, but most importantly, the guys know of when am I going to be utilized? I mean, Whit has been moved position to position. We saw Alec get moved to first. On the pitching side, in terms of the bullpen, we've seen all different types of, rotations coming out of the bullpen. Give them an idea. Okay, Junior Marte, you're probably going to be that middle reliever guy. Sir Anthony, maybe you're around that 6th, 7th inning that we're going to typically tend to be going to you, just to give them a frame of reference so that they can prepare and so that they also have the confidence that they can lock in on, this is my time to shine. Right. This is when I'm going to be called upon and I'm going to be ready. But it does feel like they're just all out there waiting for the bullpen specifically of like, who's next, and you're just pulling a straw out of a hat to see who's going to be stepping into the game.
Exactly.
And you already have so much talent. You've got a wide range of age, talent, pitching ability. Utilize that, mix and match, and come up with some sort of a bullpen role and rotation